start with the CEO and co-chair of Greenway Greenhouse Cannabis Corporation, greenway.ca, Jamie Delamonte. Great name. Jamie, welcome in. How are you, sir?
Welcome, guys. Thank you very much for having me today.
Oh, happy to. Well, seeing as this is your first time on Cannabis Insider, give us a little background into you, my friend. How did you make it to the cannabis space?
Yeah, it's a long story. My family and I have been in large-scale greenhouse growing vegetables. We started with 1 acre of a facility, and we've grown over to 120 acres of indoor greenhouses. And we supply tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers for the Canadian and the North American market to large chain stores and retail stores all throughout the country. So, we saw that we had the expertise. We've been doing it for almost 4 generations now. And with greenhouse grown product, there are obviously some important things that we have to do and regulations that we have to follow. And we thought that there was a niche in the cannabis market in Canada to really show that expertise and the ability to scale properly, I guess, with new products.
I know this is not cannabis related, but what's the rationale behind growing tomatoes or cucumbers in Canada versus importing them from places where you can grow them outdoors? I'm curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're located in Kingsville, Ontario. We actually have facilities in Kingsville and Leamington as well. It's only a 10-minute drive between the two towns. And our big advantage in our area is sunlight. We've got a very good climatic area there. We've got a lot of sunlight. And in the infancy, and I just want to say before my time, my immigrants moved here in the late 50s, and I became involved in the business in the mid 80s to early 90s. And at that time, there was only about 150 acres of indoor greenhouses producing vegetables. And it was really mainly for the Canadian market at the time. The export market just wasn't mature enough and just wasn't really acceptive of these new products. But now today, we boast almost 4,000 acres of indoor hydroponic greenhouses. And these are all high-tech facilities that we produce. We produce heat, steam, hydro at a lot of our facilities. It's all indoor hydroponics, and we really grow everything under the sun: tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, a lot of specialty products. And it's a great local story because we're able to supply a lot of Canada as well as the U.S. Locally from our facilities and neighboring facilities in the area.
Now, when it comes to greenhouse versus outdoor grows, there's obviously more consistency to your point, and your a greenhouse credit in terms of controlling the environment. There's a lot more capex on the balance sheet. Is there a balance that investors should be looking for between the two? Because when you have a greenhouse and you have more consistency, you have better opportunity at CPG and branded product. Does that increase the sales? Does that look to increase consumer base? I'm curious where the balance is for investors.
Yeah, and that's an excellent question as well. So with Greenway, when we started Greenway, we saw the initial need in the market for a truly high quality, scalable product. We've seen it in the past with large scale operators trying to come into the space with millions of square feet, and it's just didn't work out well for them as far as the scaling aspect and as well as the quality aspect of their products. So what we have done initially is we really only started with about a 45,000 square foot facility for the flower. We also have a 10,000 square foot nursery, and our processing area for dry rooms, secured storage, and packaging is about another 15,000 square feet. So from the onset, the biggest differentiator is to be right sized. That's really our know-how and our ability in the area and in the space to realize that you're starting a new product. You want to make sure you can perfect it, grow it properly, and then once you scale, and obviously once you're profitable and can supply a good product to the marketplace that people want, then we can build on it over time. And we've been licensed there in Canada for about 1.5 years now, just over 1.5 years. And we've actually begun another addition. So we'll be a total of about 180,000 square feet once it's completed. And we're hoping to do that in about another 2 weeks. declare completion of that expansion. And but that really is the differentiator. I mean, it's easy to say you can grow this product at large scale, but it needs a lot of finesse. It doesn't scale well, and it needs a lot of hands-on. The equipment and the technology aspect of it. These are hands-on plants, and they really have to be cared delicately, and right from the trimming to the harvesting to the growing and light levels. It really is what we call it with our agricultural background. It's more of a lifestyle as opposed to a business, unfortunately. We're on call 24 hours a day. My team is always on call. It really is, high scale, large scale agriculture. But when you start with a right size facility, that also obviously helps on the CapEx, because like you said, these facilities are very expensive to build and maintain.
Talking a little bit about scale and consistency, but also about CapEx and the need for attention to detail. I'm thinking about your propagation business, right? Like you help companies clone their plants consistently, safely, and you have a system that I find pretty interesting called Living Cube that is fully automated. So how does that work? Is there human intervention in this process or not? Right? Does it reduce CapEx by reducing human intervention? How does that work?
Yeah, so we do, you're right. We do have a nursery location. So we've got a nursery as well as the flower location. And we decided early on in the onset of legalization to separate the two, mainly for just any cross-contamination and to be able to put out a very good, high-quality product. So our nursery is an indoor facility, and we've done that obviously to limit any exposure to disease and contamination. And with that houses all of our mother stock. So we've got currently about 60 living strains in there. And in that area, we're able to cut from it and supply our existing flowering facility. And in the future, we are also looking to supply others eventually as well. It is automated. It is an automated system, but definitely there are human hands touching the product. For the cutting and the sticking of the rooting in the rock wool for the hydroponics, that's all done manually. Automatic part of it in the automation part is more in the watering and the actual moving throughout the container.
Now, I would imagine you have a pretty large, correct me if I'm wrong, but a large wholesale operation here. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, so basically on our 1 acre facility, and we talk about acreage, but it's about 45,000 square feet, we're producing close to 6,000 kilograms annually at the flower facility. And with our expansion, we'll be at a total of 24,000 kilograms, and that's with 4 acres in production. So our production is definitely what separates us, but it's not only that, it's also the high quality and the type of flower, as far as the consistency and the large batches that are available for our customers. That's one thing that we saw a large need in the marketplace. Many of the smaller LPs in Canada, as well as the micros, they're only able to produce on a very small scale. Mm-hmm. And there are customers out there that are looking for the 200 and 300 and 400 kilogram batches to fulfill.
And then on that same B2B front, I'm curious, and this may be something that you're completely not interested in, which is totally fine, but it just on your website, you have the thing called the Living Cube, which is a fully automated vertical growing chamber. And I'm not going to give them airtime here, but another LP takes those Living Cubes and sells them to not Living Cubes, takes their own version of it, a growing pod, whatever it is, sells them to other companies. I'm curious, is that something you all would ever consider? Is that type of technology something you would dip your foot into? Or are you very focused on kind of building out your own tech?
Yeah, at this phase, we're not looking at marketing that side of the business at all. We had partnered with a company out of BC for the original design of those systems.
Very cool.
Since then, they've chosen, that was really, how should I say it? Indoor living green facility, right? That's where they were tailored to. And then once we were involved, we really realized that there was a great need and a great use for cannabis for doing clones as well. So currently, we aren't interested in that, but there's always opportunities like that. on the Del Fresco side of things for the produce, it is very an interesting part of the business because there's a lot of issues with lettuce and recalls in open fields, but you've got to remember we are greenhouse growers and at heart. So I do want the power of the sun. That's a huge difference when we have that power of the sun. We're able to keep our costs very low. Our all-in costs on bulk sale in Canada in Canadian dollars is close to 70 cents a gram. So, I mean, that is, and that's a full all-in packaged delivered cost per gram. So,
wow.
And we're able to do that just because of our genetics, our know-how, our agricultural ability. We even produce on site our own power. We've got a 10 megawatt power plant there where we use all the excess heat. It goes into the greenhouse. It feeds Greenway as well as the neighboring Del Fresco site with heat as well as CO2. And that goes right back into the greenhouse to feed the closed loop system. So it really is a great way to grow in a greenhouse as long as you can scale it and have the proper genetics and team members basically to support it.
That is very cool, actually.
Yeah.
I wish you mentioned that earlier. I had a million questions, but I need to close it up, and I want to know, what's next for you? What will be driving growth in the next couple of years? And are you looking to expand internationally, right? With this concept, expertise, know-how, IP, consulting services, whatever it is you're thinking.
Sure. I mean, we're very laser focused at Greenway, and it comes right from our roots. We've got this expansion going on. We're going to complete that, like I said, in the next couple of weeks. We'll be at a total of 170,000 square feet and flowering. That's our initial goal. Once we plant that out and begin harvesting, we are excited for export opportunities. Obviously, about 75% of our produce on Del Fresco is exported to the U.S. So we've got relationships with many large chain stores throughout the U.S., all the way down to Texas and Florida and Minnesota on the East Coast as well. So that's definitely a natural progression one day if it ever opens, and we're excited to do that. Also, we are hoping to launch our brand one day, probably in a large value format, because we have the high quality and the low cost, and we think we can offer consumers a value in the 12 to 28 gram packages.
Perfect. Jamie Delamonte, CEO and co-chair, Greenway Greenhouse Cannabis Corporation. Definitely not the last time we chat with you, sir. I think we have a longer conversation ahead, but thank you again for being here. Hope you have safe travels to the event you're at. Looking forward to it next time.
Thank you guys for having me. And, I'm always open to answer any questions regarding cannabis, produce, or greenhouse technology. It's our lives. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. That was cool.
Greenway, if you want to check out the stock, Greenway.
Greenway.
Yeah.
Similar, I mean, not to offer the super obvious here, but one must think of Village Farms, and that Greenway is pushing them for a lot of market share.